located at 41 West Main Street in Northeast Pennsylvania, proudly supports Chautauqua Sunrise and its volunteers. More information at bellasalonanddayspa.net. Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District, with a local office in Olean. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise. Happy Saturday to everyone. It's a little cool this morning. Finally, winter decided to come back. Crazy winter though, I have to admit. And I kind of like it. Over in Ripley, we've just got a wisp of snow everywhere, but different parts I know as we go east a little bit more snow. Justin, how much snow you got over there in Jamestown?
A lot.
A lot? Seriously? Well, a few inches or what?
I don't know.
You don't know. All right, enough to shovel anyways, right? Yeah. We don't really have much at all. And it's just, we were talking about that, the interesting part about Chautauqua County is the micro climates that we have along the lake or up on the escarpment over east and so forth. And Lake Erie, for those of you who are watching the show right now, most of you are benefiting from the lake, really kind of keeps the temperatures a little bit more moderate. Except when you get up here a little bit higher in Mayville. I know I was talking with our head engineer, Jeff Zook, and he was saying it was 8 degrees here last night, and I don't think it got that cold over in Ripley. So anyways, I'm glad you could join us. And for those that are listening to us on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people, good afternoon. So glad you could join us. And we have a very interesting show in store for you as always, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But also I want to remind you that if you guys are awful shy this year, we haven't had many calls, but if you do wish to call or have a question, a comment, a compliment, not necessarily for me, but for my guest, you give us a call at 753-5225, and we'll be happy to get you on the air. Now,
This is the second Saturday this year.
and we also will pipe your voice into the studio here where we can talk to you, and don't be shy because we'd love to hear from you. I want to do a shout out to one of our constant followers of the show. I'm just going to call him TD. You know who you are. And of course, Mike up in Portland and TD from Fredonia. Thanks for checking in and writing to me from time to time. Glad that you are following the show. And once again, if you just joined us for the first time, I talk about local events. I talk about Chautauqua County and all the good stuff here in the county rather than trying to get too far away from our home base here because I really don't know what's going on out there because nobody seems to really know what's going on out there. But I know what's going on here, and that's why we bring various speakers here to talk about what's going on in our county and as it affects our lives as Chautauquans. Okay, I have quite a few announcements to share with you. And remember, if your club, your organization has something that you want to share, you can always email it to us. And I guess they flashed that up earlier, but you can always send it to me or to the studio, and we'll be happy to get it on. So let's start in Jamestown. Infinity Visual and Performing Arts welcomes new instructors. Okay. Dylan Carlson, a vocal coach, and Cameron Staton, a saxophone, flute, clarinet instructor, have joined the Infinity team. Dylan is currently offering private vocal and performance coaching, and Cameron is offering private lessons in saxophone, flute, and clarinet with emphasis on jazz and classical. How cool is that? Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Dylan and Cameron. Dylan is a local musician, born and raised in Dunkirk, New York. He began singing at the age of 6. Dylan has participated in numerous choral groups, musicals, a cappella groups, some people say Acapulco, talent competitions, and is also a recent winner of the Chautauqua's Got Talent, hosted at the Spire Theater in downtown Jamestown. Dylan is an experienced performer in a number of genres, but his strong suit is pop music. In addition to voice, Dylan also plays piano and guitar and is well-versed in the world of songwriting. He plans to take all of his experiences and help Infinity students hone their voices and become the strongest vocalists they can be. Dylan is currently on a journey with American Idol. Whoa, that's cool. Stay tuned to Infinity for updates as they become available. How cool is that? We got a phone call already. Okay, first call of the morning. Good morning, caller.
It is Mike from Portland.
Mike, you're listening. I didn't think you would be listening right now. Well, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you?
I'm quite well. I'm quite well. I did call in one day. It was the day you were doing the New Year's resolutions. And just to say hello and Happy New Year, but by the time I got in, it was too late in the show to come on.
So the secret is call in early.
That's why I did it today. That's why I did it today, because once you're with your guests and you all get talking on things, the next thing you know, it's,
time's up.
Time's up.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been watching the show pretty faithfully, usually on Saturday mornings.
Right.
Sometimes not, though. Then I catch you on reruns and I can't call in.
All right. Yeah. Well, you can call, but we won't be here.
Okay. All right.
Okay. How's retirement treating you, okay?
I'm sorry, Doc, I couldn't hear you.
How's retirement?
Oh, retirement's wonderful.
I guarantee, I offer it and I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah. No, retirement's been really good. I've enjoyed, I enjoy it.
Very good.
I enjoy it. I've been keeping busy.
You got to. So it's a good thing.
I know. So I know, and I think you have a birthday this month.
Oh, yes, I do. Towards the end, though. Not
okay,
yet.
and I have one this month. I know we're both born in January.
We're the January kids.
Yes, they were January kids. I didn't know about your brother's birthday till last week.
Yeah, we're Irish twins.
Okay. There was one show when I was going to try to call in on or get a little more information on, but I think it was one I watched in rerun. It was the one on smart streets.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely going to, I want to go back and watch that one on YouTube, because that concept sounded really interesting. And
Thank you.
I see we're doing more of that stuff, of trying to get bike lanes in.
Right.
And what, I don't remember the young lady you had.
Michaela Serto.
Okay, but I know she was talking about, I guess handicap crosswalks.
Yeah, all those things that we need, sure.
That was interesting.
Great.
And I am on a committee in the town of Portland, and
good for you.
And before we meet again, I want to watch that show, because it may or may not be something we want to talk about a little. Mm-hmm. Although most of Portland's pretty rural, we don't even have sidewalks in many places. But that was definitely of interest to me.
Okay, well, the town of Ripley is working with her about some things, and so Ripley and Portland, we're pretty similar in some respects. So give her a call.
All right.
All right, Mike. Well, thanks for calling in. Happy New Year.
You too, Doc.
All right.
Okay. Bye now.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, well, that's how it works here, guys. All you gotta do is pick up the phone, call 753-5225, and happy to talk with you. Okay, so we just talked about Dylan Carlson, the vocal coach at Infinity that's just been hired. So let me tell you a little bit about Cameron Staton. He was born in Queens, New York, is new to the Jamestown area by way of Raleigh, North Carolina. As a saxophonist, he began his formal studies at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. While pursuing a degree in music education, Cameron was able to study and perform on saxophone in both jazz and classical idioms. Additionally, while attending UNC Pembroke, he has performed with numerous large and chamber ensembles, including wind ensembles, jazz bands, saxophone quartet, R&B groups, and fusion ensemble, to name a few. Since college, Cameron has continued his love of music and saxophone, playing across North Carolina, most recently with the Ronnie Thomas Band as saxophonist, including a feature on the album called For the Love of Music, and also leader of his own jazz quartet at various social events, clubs, and churches. Cameron was born into a musical family growing up around those gospel and blues roots. He understands the commitment and passion it takes to pursue music as a lifelong undertaking and is committed to help foster that love for music in the next generation. He is a member of Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia, a music-based professional fraternity. And once again, as we have seen in past shows here at Chautauqua Sunrise, Infinity is awesome. They do a lot of great things with young folks. And here's two adults that have come up through the system that can relate to kids, and I'm sure we're going to see some good things coming from them. If you want to know more information, give them a call, 664-0991. Okay. Just as a footnote, it was just announced that Infinity just got a huge grant from the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation to support their projects over there. And as you know, they can't do it alone, and they're happy to work with Infinity. So good on the foundation, good for Infinity to keep it going. Okay, let's keep on going right over here in Mayville, just down the road. Residents and friends of Mayville are invited to attend a presentation for the public to introduce Community Heart and Soul. That's called the name of the project. A representative from the Orton Family Foundation in Vermont will be discussing how the principles and process of Community Heart and Soul can help enrich the lives and vibrancy of this once thriving community. When communities flourish, everyone benefits and every voice matters. Please plan on attending this very important meeting to find out how to make your voice heard for what matters most to you and your community. The meeting will be held in the auditorium at the Chautauqua Lake Central School, just down the road, on Thursday, January 17th at 5:15. January 17th at 5:15. Daycare will be provided, and for more information, you can go to Orton, ORTON.org. Okay? All right, let's go to Westfield. Westfield VFW Post 6764 will be celebrating its 65th anniversary and acknowledging, this is a little complicated, I'll do my best to read this, the signing of the 1973 Vietnam Peace Accord, the declaration of war and ending of Desert Shield, the commencement of Desert Storm in 1991, and the ending of the Panama Campaign. Posting of colors and remarks at 12:30 with beef on weck and salad to follow. Veterans, family, friends are welcome to join the members in the auxiliary at this event. They're actively seeking new members. If you're eligible for hostile fire, served in a combat theater, still including Korea at any time, come check your eligibility. It's going to be held at 34 Pearl Street in Westfield. And for more information, give them a call at 326-2613, and lunch is being served from 12:30 to 2. Okay, a really cool opportunity. We're going to go to Jamestown. This is called Doors Open. The very popular Doors Open Jamestown will be back on Saturday, January 19th. Doors Open offers free admission for the day to our local attractions, demonstrating the extraordinary tourism opportunities that are right here in our own backyard. Sponsored by the Jamestown Community Chamber of Commerce and the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation. Doors Open has grown substantially since it first began. Participating venues are, here we go now, you can go to these places for free. The Jamestown Audubon Nature Center, the Bustay Gristmill, Chautauqua Harbor Hotel, Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, Daughter of the American Revolution. I think that should be Daughters of the American Revolution. Fenton History Center, Infinity Visual Performing Arts, James Prendergast Library, Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz Museum, the Lucille Ball Little Theater, Mart's Cole Observatory, Marvin Community House, National Comedy Center, pre-registration required due to limited capacity. It's sold out already, you said? All right, I know you guys got tickets. Northwest Arena, Reg Linnaeus Center for the Arts, Robert Jackson Center, holy mackerel, the Roger Torrey Peterson Institute of Natural History, the Spire Theater, Tot Spot, and the hours are from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for this free day at many of our local museums and attractions. So check it out. Sounds like a lot of fun. All right. My good buddy over at Rolling Hills Radio, Ken Harley, he wants me to share with you on Monday, January 21st at Shawbucks in downtown Jamestown, they're going to have the Brian Bowers Band. For over 5 decades, Brian Bowers has been to the auto harp what Earl Scruggs was to the 5-string banjo. He presents instrumental virtuosity combined with warmth, eloquence, expression, and professionalism. He's a master of the auto harp. He's a songwriter, and he's teamed up with 2 other musicians, Danny Nicely and Jeff Goodhue, and they are going to be doing the show January 21, and remind you that the doors open at 5:30. There's refreshments and food available for purchase till 6:15. Then the show starts at 6:30. They close the bar and everything. There will be intermission for 10 minutes to get something to drink again. And then at the end of the show, there's always the meet and greet, which is always fun to actually get to talk with the performers. Tickets are $25, and if you're interested, give them a holler at 294-0416 or go to Rolling Hills Radio, all one word, .org to get your tickets. Again, January 21, Brian Bowers Band. We're getting there. Okay. As a way of information, the McClurg Museum in Westfield is going to be closed. All right, the Chautauqua County Historical Society will close the McClurg Museum to the public beginning January 2nd, a little bit ago, to accommodate the much needed renovation and restoration work on the 200-year-old building. There's some pictures there. During the closure, the museum will not be available for tours, while much needed work takes place in the building's center stair hall. This project will complete the first stage of the critical repairs identified by the Historic Structures report that was completed in 2015. The work is tentatively scheduled to be completed by the end of February. Okay, so here's the deal. I gave John Wolf, who's very involved with the museum there, a holler, and he's going to be on the show in February, and we're going to hear all the updates and what the heck they're doing over there, and he's very excited to share the renovation report, and hopefully he'll have some pictures as well. So stay tuned for that. Okay, we're going to skip ahead a little bit here on some other announcements. I can get to them later. Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame induction banquet. Chip Johnson, chairman of the 38th Annual Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame induction banquet, has announced the locations where tickets may be purchased for the February 18th event. The Jamestown Cycle Shop on Harrison Street, Matt's News on 3rd Street over in Dunkirk, the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame on West 3rd Street are the official distribution sites. Tickets can also be ordered by phoning Johnson at 485-6991. Tickets are $50, and members of the Hall of Fame, you get a $5 discount. And there are going to be a bunch of new inductees. I'm not going to tell you much more about that because Randy Anderson will be here on high octane fuel as he always is, and we're going to be talking about that here in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. And my last and final most important announcement is it's Girl Scout cookie time. There they are. And they're going to be coming in with all kinds of cookies throughout the season here, which runs starting January 12th through March 31st. And I'm going to give you the new varieties. Okay, here we go. Caramel, depending on where you're from, chocolate chip, thin mints, caramel delights, shortbread varieties. Caramel chocolate chip features rich caramel, semi-sweet chocolate chips, and a hint of sea salt in a chewy, gluten-free cookie. A little early in the morning for me, but maybe in an hour or two. And never too early. All right. So that's coming up. So when you see the Girl Scouts come to your door, buy a box or two. I know my niece is selling them, so I have a feeling we'll have a few boxes in the cupboard that'll last hopefully like 3 days. All right, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back. So stay tuned. We'll be right with you.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
You know, bullying continues, folks. I've stood up to bullies, and I've actually written about the topic in my column from Out of the West in the Silver magazine over the years. It's out there, and you got to check it. If you see kids doing it, get after them. It's just not right, and it really destroys lives and leaves permanent scars that will last a lifetime in many cases. Okay, we're going to get to our main topic today. I'm going to do a little introduction here to start out with. A while back, I was at a Rotary meeting, and we had a guest speaker, and I was listening and listening and listening, and I thought to myself, this is the most polite person I have ever met. My guest is super polite. She's pleasant to talk with. She's very knowledgeable, and I want to welcome Rachael Snyder to the show. She's the volunteer recruitment specialist for Western New York and Central New York, I believe you said, right?
Western and Central New York region, yeah.
That's a pretty big area.
26 counties.
Oh my, just you?
No, I am actually fortunate to have 4 other recruiters alongside me.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the Red Cross. So on my way here, of course, I always prepare in great depth. So I spent 15 seconds with Siri on my iPhone this morning, and I know that the Red Cross goes back to the Civil War era, right?
Correct.
With Clara Barton, 1863. There's the extent of my research. So it's pretty old now. I mean, it's approaching, I don't even know what that would come out to be, but over 150 years old anyways or something like that. So where is the Red Cross today compared to 100 years ago? I mean, it was helping out on the battlefields, but it's come a long way since then, right?
Absolutely. And one of the cool things, if you haven't had a chance to explore our region at all, is the original chapter house is located in Dansville, New York. So we actually hold Clara Barton's house. Yeah, that is the original chapter house, and that is right in our region. So we've got a lot of history that started here in our own region in Western and Central New York. So that's pretty cool.
Dansville is Wyoming County?
Livingston County,
Livingston,
I believe.
okay,
Yeah, so
right.
it's just a jog over.
Yeah. But it's when you look at a lot of the people back in that era, there were some real heavy hitters that came from our area that we forget about.
Absolutely.
Susan B. Anthony and a lot of other folks. So yeah.
So to answer your question, we've come quite a long way. We have kept some of the core services that we had. For example, our service to the Armed Forces department is still helping military families and veterans, kind of echoing Clara Barton's role in helping on the battlefield. As a nurse, Clara Barton saw a lot of medical procedures that needed help medically. And so our blood services department continues in that stead with making sure that we have safe blood product for everyone who needs it. Every 2 seconds, someone needs a blood transfusion. So it's a constant need. And so that is something we have kept going as well. Talking about disasters, again, in keeping with the tradition of Clara Barton and what she started, both natural and man-made disasters were there in order to give support, in order to provide basic needs and assurance to people who have suffered in that. As far as where we've come, obviously there are technological advances.
Mm-hmm.
The span of where the Red Cross reaches is extensive. We are a national organization, and so you can find the Red Cross in every state and I believe every territory that belongs to the United States. So starting in Dansville, but then making its way across the United States.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the armed forces.
Sure.
Okay, so I think most families have had somebody involved with the armed forces. over the course of, like I said, since the Civil War anyways. So what services do you offer the armed services, the armed forces, the folks that are in the military?
Absolutely. The Red Cross actually has a unique charter with Congress where we are able to be messengers between military members who are deployed and their families at home. So if something happens, for example, something more along the tragic lines in terms of perhaps a death or someone's ill, we are able to, through our networks, our international networks of Red Cross societies, we're able to get in contact with their unit wherever they're deployed and provide that message. It also may be a message of someone got married or a baby was born, and so we're able to communicate that news so that the military member is able to get leave and come and be with their family in that time of either need or celebration.
All right, so you don't guarantee the fact that they can come home. You just are, I'm just the messenger kind of.
Correct. We have that charter through Congress. Again, a lot of times we do see positive results with that. But of course, we're, as kind of the third party messenger, we can't guarantee.
Okay, so with my show being a local show, how would someone, and you mentioned a death in the family, I mean, that happened in my family where a grandparent passed and we had to bring my son home and he was part of the funeral and so forth. So how do they, what's the first step for someone to contact?
Sure, it would just be contacting our local Red Cross office. Our Service to the Armed Forces specialist actually sits in the Buffalo office. She's from Niagara Falls, so giving a call to our local office and she can start that casework right away.
Okay, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you have the phone number?
I will have to look it up. I know my phone number, but I can always transfer too. My number is 878-2231. And then if I at least know that by heart, and then if someone's to call me and ask about it, I can definitely transfer.
All right, so 878-2231.
Correct.
Okay, and they will get you. All right.
Yep.
Because nowadays, phone books are not as common as you think, and it's kind of hard to navigate the internet sometimes to find that number that you're looking for.
Correct.
So that's why I like to at least leave folks with some number here that are watching. Okay, the question just came through my earpiece. Is that 24 hours?
That is not 24 hours, but we do have a 1-800 Red Cross number, and that is a 24-hour number. So I do know that as far as local presence, Lisa does get back to her messages right away. So I always encourage people to leave a message with what they need. So we do return those correspondences.
Okay, and we realize sometimes that it's a pressing time when a tragedy does happen, but you know, we are human beings and we have to be patient, I guess. But nonetheless, that's good to know. So you call the person on the other end of the line, and they take down the information. What happens next?
Yep. So they would gather the information as much as they need, the message that needs to be sent, and then the military members' name and where they are deployed, and then their unit, and so that information can get to that military member through their commander.
All right, this isn't supposed to be like a trick question, but a lot of times we have military personnel that are like on the top of a mountain. So, I mean, you say, my son's in this country, and here's his name. I mean, I'm assuming people can track him down pretty easily?
Well, coordinating with the military, and then also with, that's the beautiful thing about having Red Cross societies in different countries that are not, they're not the same as the American Red Cross, but we do work closely with them. So between those two things, we are able to locate. Yes, I'm sure it can be difficult. That is not something I've had to do personally.
Okay, but right, and in our case, it worked out fine. I mean, we were able to locate them and so forth. But I mean, I know that there's been times that military personnel are literally on top of a mountain, you know, for like 2-3 weeks at a time. So I mean, I suppose they have their system, but it's daunting when you think about it, where you're trying to get a hold of a family member that's so far away. But boy, thank goodness we had the Red Cross then.
Absolutely.
That's very cool. Okay, but the Red Cross doesn't pay for flights or anything like that. I mean, they're just the messenger, right?
That is my understanding. We do provide for veterans and military members in financial crises. There is financial assistance for emergency needs for veterans and military family members. As to the extent of, for example, a flight, I can't guarantee the specifics, but for those in a financial situation, we can offer some assistance, and then we can also direct to, we have a lot of connections with other organizations that provide service to military members and their families.
So active military or veterans period, or active and veterans?
Active and veterans.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Can you give me an example of what that would be?
A lot of times someone may fall onto hard times as an active service member or veteran, and a lot of times this will come in the form of loans, but low interest loans. So
wow.
Yeah, so that way we can make sure that throughout the cycle of their career, both active and then going into being retired and then having served our country, we can support our military members.
I did not know that. And it's timely that you bring this up, because I mentioned TD, one of our viewers here. We've been corresponding about veteran services here in the county, and he refers to me as all things veteran because I'm so supportive of the services and needs for veterans in our area. And do you know there's 11,000 veterans in Chautauqua County?
I was reading that. Yeah, I was actually surprised. Again, you think of it, a lot of parts as rural, but a lot of really service-minded people in this county, and
Absolutely.
that's exciting to see. I just wanted to put in,
Please
we
do.
have something exciting, a resource coming up. It is going under review, but it's going to be a resource guide specifically for our military folks in Chautauqua County.
Wow.
So again, not in print yet, but it's going through review to become an available resource.
And this is a guide?
Yes.
Like a book?
Yes, so it's not just the Red Cross, but it's gathering information about the different resources.
Can I get a copy of that?
Absolutely.
So if you put a note to give me a copy of that, and then I'll share it when the time comes. Do you work with Greg Carlson here at the county level? He's the director of Veteran Services at the county?
I'm sure we do. I have not met him, but I'm sure that our department services the Air Force.
All right, we're going to tie this all together for everybody. Awesome. That's great. You mentioned safe blood products. Now, you're talking about your blood drives, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Okay. You know, I'm not sure exactly how this happened, but my dad was a veteran. And when I was 18, it was like the annual, biannual, we're going to go down and give blood at the school kind of a thing. And so for years I gave blood, but then now I'm taking this little tiny pill, and I looked it up and it knocks me out. So I really was kind of upset by that, because I forgot I was up to like 4 or 5 gallons or something like that. But boy, that's so helpful when people do volunteer to give their blood. I know that they need it everywhere these days. Where does the blood go? Okay, I mean, obviously you need to send it different places. So
Sure.
What are the locations?
Absolutely. Well, and thank you so much for the donations you have
yeah,
given.
sure.
I don't know if you're aware, but every whole blood donation can save up to 3 lives. So if you want to,
plasma, the red cell. No, go ahead. I'm just talking out my head.
But I'm not sure, and that might be different blood components. True.
Right.
But so if I'm not good with math and my gallons and my system that way, but you can do the math. So thank you for that. Because
so one donation serves 3 people.
Up to 3 people. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So as far as where the blood goes, we do start with making sure that the blood that is donated, it does need to be processed. We have to make sure that it's tested, and then it may be changed into different components depending on the need. But then we do make sure that it is used locally. The need locally is met first, so that way you save cost on transporting the blood, and also making sure that the local need is met, right?
When you say local need, what does that mean?
It means for us, local is within our region, so Western and Central New York. Our processing facility is in West Henrietta, but from there, the blood that is processed and ready to go is sent back out to the counties surrounding.
So what I mean is hospitals, clinics, that
Correct.
Sort of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm not trying to be smart here. I mean, that's where that goes locally. It's to certified medical facilities.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to just be handing out
blood
on the street corner.
When you said distribute locally, I want to make that clear that okay. All right, woo. And so so after the local folks are taken care of, then where's the blood go?
And then it'll go to the next closest. So it's kind of like concentric circles where once the need is met here, then it'll go out, kind of the radius widens as there's still supply, and then to meet the need, kind of further stretching out.
Okay, I asked lots of questions, as you can already tell. So, I don't know how to say this correctly. I want to say shelf life. So I'll say it. What's the shelf life of blood? Is it, you can last a long time?
That's a great question. And the different products have different shelf lives, and it depends also on how the components, it depends on how the components have been pulled out.
Sure.
And there's difference between the blood that has been donated to the processing site. So actually, there's a ton of information on www.redcrossblood.org. I recommend that because I don't want to give you an incorrect.
Yeah, I'm just curious
because
so people realize that it does keep for a while, and and in states of emergencies that they can transport. It's not going to spoil, I guess, or be not useful, really quick. I remember one of the things that was happening, and now it's probably old hat by now because it's been a few years since I was able to donate, but they had one of those machines where they separated I guess it was the plasma from the red cells, and that was kind of interesting experience, having fluids coming in and going in your body, and I kind of like that one because you could kind of like double up on it if I remember right.
Yeah.
So a lot of good things. All right. So. And again, if the military needs blood, is that donated there as well?
Yeah, I don't know specifically how that might happen, but I do know that that is one of the reasons why people will need blood in times of war or in times.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, when I looked up Red Cross, it said the American Red Cross and then the International Red Cross. What's the difference? I mean, obviously international is behind America, but I mean, it's a different organization altogether?
So one of the principles of the Red Cross is that we are independent and that we have unity. And what that means is each country has its own Red Cross. So the American Red Cross is specifically in the United States and its territories. And then each country will have its own Red Cross Society. And then you have these different societies as the International Red Cross working together to make sure that we are serving humanity and helping those affected by disasters and preparing those for disasters across the globe. So it's kind of, you have your smaller components, and that creates sort of a blanket of the Red Cross across the entire world, but with each country having its own society that runs independently and then comes together in times of need.
So is there like, I don't want to say a convention, but a gathering of representatives that makes the International Red Cross? Or do they work and have conferences and talk together, or
Sure. I know that there is constant contact, especially technology makes that easier to have it more real time. As far as conferences, I'm not sure about that. I'm sorry.
Well, somehow they're all tied together.
Absolutely.
Under this international. When you say society, that's an interesting term. They're their own society. What do you mean by that?
Well, in terms of having, each country has its own need, and so the Red Cross may function differently in different countries. Right. So for example, the services that we provide in the United States may not be exactly the same in other countries due to whatever sort of need they have.
Customize it for that area.
Absolutely. So that way we can be relevant and serve the people that we're...
Okay, take a breath. Folks, you're watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels. My guest today is Rachael Snyder. She's a volunteer recruitment specialist for Western and Central New York. And we're talking about what the Red Cross does, and she's going to talk about some volunteer opportunities in a second. If you have a question or a comment, give her a call. Give us a call at 753-5225. Okay, so let's get now to disasters and volunteering and all that sort of thing, which is really why you're here today.
Awesome. Actually, we have volunteer opportunities in every capacity. I know a lot of times people do think about volunteering with disaster, which is really important, and in this county is a need for us right now. But 90% of our workforce is volunteers. So
what you say there's a need. What's the need?
We actually have, we are looking to build a disaster action team here in Chautauqua County, in our different counties. And what those volunteers do is they respond on an on-call basis to disasters, typically house fires. And Jamestown according to some information I received from my colleagues, is one of the top 10 most at risk for house fires in Western New York. So, so we're looking to put together a team of these on-call volunteers who are willing to go out, be that first face. We have our wonderful first responders taking care of the fire and the fire departments.
EMTs,
yes,
paramedics,
exactly. Yeah. They're taking care of that technical, all of the things that have to happen to quench a fire. But we also want our Red Cross volunteers there, and they're able to provide comfort to those who are there. They also start a case for those affected by the fire, so we can get them immediate assistance, client assistance cards. So, for example, if their house is unlivable, they can have a place to stay for the night. They have resources to be able to go and get some food, to get a hotel room for themselves and their families. And then we start a case so that way we're not just giving them something and then leaving them high and dry, but making sure that we're following up so that they have a plan for recovery, so that they can also be connected with other organizations that may provide more resources than what we have to give. So making sure that they have a network of support.
Who pays for all this?
Well, our donors. We have, and that's why they're written into our mission statement, and they're so huge to this organization because both in terms of blood, but also financial donors. They're the ones that pour into the Red Cross, so we can pour 91 cents on the dollar out to those in need in situations like this. Okay,
so let's focus on the local disaster action team. How many people are we talking here you need?
It would be great to have, so the number can vary because we ask for people's availability. Obviously,
sure,
it's a volunteer
right,
opportunity.
Different shifts or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. And people, and you never know where a fire is going to happen. So if we can get perhaps a group of 10 north and 10 south that are able to have regular availability. We never send people out by themselves. We want to make sure that we're sending a team. Again, an emergency situation, you just want to make sure everyone, you're not adding to the need.
Oh yeah, the confusion, yeah.
Absolutely. So making sure that we have probably about 20 people, and that also can account for, they may not be on call all the time, but at least we have a regular set of people that are on call and ready.
So for my viewers, listeners right now, they say, I could be interested in that, but what skill level and what would I do?
Sure. Again, being willing to be on call. So if you say your availability is 3
phone
in the morning.
rings.
Yep, 3 in the morning.
Doc, we need you. So what would I do and what do I
Well, it's good to have a personal vehicle because
so you gotta have a car or transportation.
Transportation, yep. Okay. We respond within 2 hours. So making sure that you can get in your vehicle, respond to this fire in 2 hours. Having access, a little bit of technological skill is good because we do eventually put these case notes into our computer database so that way we can keep following up with them. Compassionate spirit, the ability to, it can be pretty heart-wrenching. So I think
my gosh, yes.
Being able to have composure in an emergency situation is important. Again, we're not going into buildings or anything, but you are comforting people who have experienced a really great loss. And so having a heart for people in that situation is important, especially when people may not be able to communicate like they normally would. They're in a hysterical situation.
Okay, so let's start day one. Someone picks up the phone, they call 878-2231.
Correct.
They say, Rachel, I want to join your team. So what happens next?
So I would lead them through our application process. Our volunteers have to put in their information. We make sure they have their emergency contacts listed because we want to make sure our volunteers are all accounted for.
They're
as well.
safe. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we vet them through a background check process. So we want to guarantee, we're all about safety at the Red Cross. So we want to make sure that our other volunteers are safe and that those clients that we're working with are safe. So we do have a background check process. They apply for that disaster action team position, and then they'll enter a trainee position. So
training?
Yes.
Okay.
So there is training.
I
yes.
bet there is.
Yes. Again, in the name of being prepared and making sure that anyone we send out has the right skills they need.
Yeah, there's a wrong way to do things, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are unsafe ways to do things. We don't want to send anyone and then have them feel like they were sent without the right tool set.
Right. Now, is there like a group leader?
Yes, so there are disaster action team leaders, there are members, and then trainees. So you kind of move your way up the ranks after you've gotten training. You've shadowed other people who have gone out. So you're never going out again by yourself, and you're never going out before you've had someone there to be alongside you. So there's a combination of online training and then also in person, being on the scene with those who have done this before.
Okay, so as of January 12th, 2019, what's the status of your team here, disaster team in Chautauqua County? Is there a team, or is there part of a team?
We do have very dedicated members. But part of it is that if they're the only ones we've got about 8 dedicated members, but they can't do it all by themselves.
Yeah, it's a lot of territory here.
Right, and really the volunteers for the Red Cross are the local presence. So the more people we can have, the more effective we'll be, and then we can also give these really great volunteers that have been sticking it out with us a little bit of a break too, so that they can have, they won't be on the schedule as often.
Okay, so again, going back to me thinking on the other side of the camera, age limits.
Sure.
Beginning and ending?
Absolutely. So our volunteers need to be over 18. Okay. Again, that's just to make sure that we're protecting everyone's safety. But once they're 18, and then if people feel like they have the ability, there's not really an age limit. In terms of, as long as the capacity to go, to be present, to fill out the paperwork, and to make sure that the steps are followed after the fact, those are really the requirements.
Okay, so the training is free?
Yes, once they're a volunteer, again, it's online and in person, so that's completely...
Okay, they're not doing CPR, they're not doing anything medical.
No.
They're doing some paperwork perhaps, and they're providing information, make some phone calls perhaps.
Yes.
And do they bring stuff to the site to help? Like, I don't know what I'm talking about here. A coat, a jacket.
They do provide comfort kits. So those are things like the basic necessities, like somebody being able to wash up once they get to the hotel.
Yeah.
For kids, they may have a little stuffed animal, so they have something.
So the Red Cross provides that for
Yes.
the volunteers to give them?
Yes, and then from there we provide the financial assistance so that they can get what they specifically need.
You have some things here, some props. Are they part of the what's going on here?
So this is a vest, a disaster vest, and this is what our volunteers would wear so they can be identified as our responders, our disaster volunteers.
Do they have like ID badges?
They also have ID badges, yes.
All right, so there's no doubt who's who. Because
Yes.
nowadays you just
Exactly.
see weird things happening.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a very controlled situation.
Yes, and that's also why we asked for the background check, because we always want, with the main portion of our organization being volunteers, we need to make sure we're bringing in quality people, and then that our workforce can work well together.
Okay.
So yes, that's very important too. I understand that.
Okay.
So and then this is, I just brought a little American Red Cross blanket. These are a lot of times in larger disasters when we have to set up shelters. We will provide pillows and blankets so that people, they may be staying on a cot for a time being, but they can at least have some of the
comfort.
yeah, exactly.
And I can imagine after you've been through a traumatic situation, you're shaken, and you get a nice warm blanket around you and, a cup of coffee or whatever that probably helps quell your nerves. As far as the volunteers go, is there skills that they need to bring? I mean, we talked about what they're going to do, but I mean, do they, what would be the perfect volunteer for you as far as background and skill level? I mean.
Sure. I think people who have experience with being first responders, because they're used to the on-call kind of the situation where it's an emergency situation. So people with that experience, nurses have often been good because they work with people and they know how to comfort people in that situation. But I wouldn't say we train people. So again, a willingness and then an ability to follow through with the different steps
So really the training.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a willingness and
availability and an ability to get to the situation, and then being able to follow those procedures and making sure that we're
checking the
following through with
boxes.
steps.
And
Yep.
sure, right.
So that we get that person on the road to recovery sooner.
Okay, this is an important question. Do people get burned out doing this? I mean, this is heavy duty stuff.
Right, and that's why it's my responsibility is to bring in more volunteers. That's why I'm so thankful for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because we have such big-hearted people, and they want to give, and then they get into it, but the need is constant. And you never know when a disaster is going to strike, or if maybe multiple will come up in a row. And so people can, if they give a lot, we actually have volunteers that are mental health volunteers that check in with volunteers after they deploy to a big situation, because we understand. Yeah.
Wipe you down.
I mean, after I deployed to Puerto Rico, and I had someone call me after the fact, because you see things that are difficult. You see people in hard circumstances, perhaps something you've never experienced yourself, and you're asked to be a source of comfort and someone who is willing to reach out in a difficult time for these people. So yes, and then just the amount of time given, people are very generous. Our volunteers are a really high caliber sort of person, but we don't want to take advantage of that to the point where they reach that. So,
well, 8 people is not very many for a county as big as us.
Exactly, and many hands make lighter work.
Absolutely.
There's something to be said about that.
Right.
So if everybody pitches in a little bit, then we don't have to worry so much about a few people taking the load for a whole county.
Okay, you mentioned Puerto Rico. My little voice in my head said pictures, so how about we do some pictures and talk about some things that you shared with us. So, Jeff, let's go to the Puerto Rico pictures and let's frame the storyline on this, Rachel.
Sure, absolutely. So I am there. I am walking up one of the streets in a Puerto Rican town, and we are doing, there's 3 of my colleagues and I. One is actually a Puerto Rican volunteer herself, and we are distributing emergency supplies. So,
are they from the Jamestown area, your colleagues?
No, this was a smattering of people from all over the country.
This was after the hurricane, right?
Correct. This was after Hurricane Maria.
So how did you leave this area and get down there? I mean, why did you go?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting story, especially since I don't come from Chautauqua County, but I do come from a little town in Chemung County called Erin.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it takes people from all parts of the country. But I actually went to school and I learned Spanish. And so
that was a plus then, yeah.
Yeah, and so knowing all the different disasters that had gone up to that point, I had just been recently hired, maybe 2 months into my job, but seeing the need and then knowing, well, I have the ability to communicate, so I offered, if there was a need, and it looked like Hurricane Irma perhaps was going to hit, and it didn't hit Puerto Rico quite as hard, but then when Maria hit, my supervisor said, hey, are you still able and willing to go? And I said, yeah, I'll do this.
Okay, so let's keep going with the pictures, I guess.
Sure.
There's some more here.
Sure.
So we'll continue with Puerto Rico. So
so this was actually a flight donated to us by JetBlue, and this is 100-some Red Cross volunteers.
So what we're looking at is an airport?
Yes. This is
the
us
waiting
gathered.
area before you get on the plane.
Yes, this is, and the airline had graciously donated the flight to us to get down to Puerto Rico. Those are all the volunteers that we stuck onto the plane.
Red jackets all over the place there.
Oh yeah, we have to make sure that we're identified so people know what we're doing and why we're there.
Okay.
But that was the group I was with heading down to Puerto Rico.
Okay, let's keep on moving. What else we got? Wow.
So this is actually in, it's kind of like a recreational center, one of the towns in Puerto Rico where they have a basketball court. It's covered, and a lot of times we would work with emergency services in these different locales, and they would direct us to public places where we could distribute food, we could distribute some different supplies. Mainly it was food and water, because a lot of, without electricity, without running water, ability to get that, those were things that people were definitely in need of. So we set up lines and we distributed the supplies we were given.
Now it looks like you're working with another group there.
Yeah, actually this was pretty cool. We had a group that was doing disaster assessment through the military, and they stopped and they helped hand out supplies too. So we had a lot of different government and nonprofit organizations working hand in hand to make sure that people were getting the supplies that they needed.
Now, your disaster team here in Chautauqua County, they're not required to go overseas, but they could.
They could, yes.
Okay, so that's all right, that's a plus. All right, so, whoa, there's a familiar face.
Yeah, that's me.
What are you doing? I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, so at that same distribution site that day, we had a supply from a company of fresh fruit. So there I am unpacking fruit to give and distribute to and you can see the line of people behind me. There are quite a few people.
Yeah.
And there were often hundreds of people that would show up at these sites, and without prior notice.
Just they heard the food's coming.
Exactly.
Word gets out.
Exactly. So there I am doing my part, little part in a big ocean of need.
So does the Red Cross still have a presence there now?
The Red Cross, there is actually a Red Cross chapter in Puerto Rico.
But I mean, still active because of the disaster? Because I mean, I don't know. When do you declare a disaster over? I mean, from what I was watching on TV, this was going to be like a generation to get back on its feet.
Absolutely. So I think we do definitely not as large of a presence as when we were first responding, but there is continued assistance that's given as the recovery, because recovery is a big part of what the American Red Cross does. So working with the chapter and the local people there, we sort of put in a large amount of people to be able to help in that immediate need, and then start retracting and building up the volunteer and
teach them
Red Cross base, in Puerto Rico itself, because really the local presence is a huge part of
we have
what
a picture now. Looks like a truck, maybe.
It is. That's one of our box trucks that I'm standing in front of, our disaster relief trucks. So those would be filled with pallets of food and water and different supplies like tarps, and we would go out. We would follow the truck, and we would go to the emergency services, the emergency management services in that area, see where there was a need that hadn't really been met yet, and see if we could set up a spot to drop and distribute food in that area. And other
Was there
supplies.
anybody local in that picture from around here?
Could we tally back just to check and see?
Bring that picture up again, Jeff. I thought I saw someone that looked familiar, but I don't know if it was right or not.
Let's see. Those I have a lot of Puerto Rico natives. No, those are people I met from Ohio. There are people, again, from all over the country. Kentucky, we had some.
Okay.
We all came together to
Right, we have time for a couple more. So what else we got? No.
Now this is more local.
All right, so we're going to leave Puerto Rico. Now we're going to talk about local things. So what's going on here?
So this was a shelter that was set up in Rochester not too long ago. I can't remember the exact nature of that disaster, but it was enough that a shelter was needed to set up. And so here you see there's a Red Cross volunteer that is interacting with some people who had come in for shelter.
An elderly couple.
Yeah, an elderly couple.
The gentleman's in a wheelchair and looks like perhaps his wife.
Yep, absolutely. So again, extending that compassion. We set up shelters. There's obviously the technicality of that happens with volunteers and making sure that the supplies are there, but also again, that compassion, the human element of what's going on there, where she is providing comfort. Obviously some really beautiful smiles.
Right. Had he been injured, or he just had a handkerchief? I couldn't tell.
I think he may have had just a handkerchief on.
All right. So whatever, it could be a low-level emergency or high-level, depending. There's just all kinds of them. Okay, how about one more picture, and then we're going to wrap things up. So what we got here?
So this is the other end of our disaster services department, where we also do preparedness. So we respond to disasters, but we also want to make sure that people are prepared for disasters. So this is part of our home fire preparedness campaign. We also, in the spring, we did a large event called Sound the Alarm, where we go into people's homes, we install up to 3 free smoke alarms. We work with residents so that they can build an evacuation plan for their home. So a smoke alarm's only as good as knowing what to do once you hear it.
For sure.
And then also giving some fire safety tips. For example, it gets cold. You were mentioning earlier how it's cold now, and there are better ways of heating homes and ways that are more prone to start a fire. And so we talk about those things and make sure that people know what to do, how to prevent a fire in their home, but also have the tools in case something does happen that they can get out safely.
Okay, Rachel, we've run out of time, believe it or not. So how about real quick, Rachael Snyder, how do people get a hold of you if they're interested in volunteering or learn more about the Red Cross?
Great. We have many venues. I would love to talk to you personally. My number is 716-878-2231. That's my number at the office. You can also reach me at Rachael, Rachael, Snyder, Snyder, at redcross.org. And then exploring our website will also bring up, if you want to just kind of poke around before even talking to me, feel free to do that at redcross.org/volunteer.
Okay, that's it. Rachael, thanks for joining us
Thank
today.
you so
And I
much.
hope our viewers and listeners learn more about the Red Cross and what it does. I did. So have a safe weekend. My microphone's popping off here again. And we'll do this all again next Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. Take care. I'm Doc Hamels with Chautauqua Sunrise. Bye now.